Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically for Tuesday, June the 2nd. We have some announcements. The Rideau Environmental Action League is hosting their rain barrel and native plant sale this Saturday, June 6th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Rio Deal store in Smith Falls. The township has an employment opportunity for a deputy treasurer / deputy clerk combined position, open until June 8th at 1 p.m. For those interested in running for a seat on township council, nominations are open until August 21st at 2 p.m. If you hadn't had the opportunity to visit the Montague 22 Acre Park recently, the pickleball courts are open and the storyboards designed by students from Montague Public School have been placed along the trail. Summer weather means an increase in construction activities. Please be mindful of workers, vehicles, and equipment in construction zones. Our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the regular meeting of council agenda dated June 2nd, 2026 be approved as amended to add items 4D, committee of the whole meeting minutes dated May 19th, 2026, and item 8O, Lanark County email, business retention and expansion, BRNE community leader group. All in favor? And that's carried. The disclosure of interest now at any point in time through a meeting. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council dated May 19th, 2026 be approved as amended to remove resolution 138-2026 gravel road survey results, and that the minutes from the special meeting of council dated May 22nd, 2026 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? That's carried. Any discussion, any business arising from minutes of our previous meeting? So our no delegations, and our first report is Clerk Planning Manager Krishna Hote, Business Retention and Expansion Project.
Thank you, Chair. So on May the 19th, at our regular meeting of council, Tim Woods from the County of Lanark attended to talk about a business retention and expansion initiative focused on obtaining feedback from local business owners and also for municipalities to provide information or resources that might be available to them. The means of gathering this information would typically be face-to-face interviews with local business owners, although there is an electronic option available. These in-person interviews would require training for the interviewers to conduct these interviews effectively, and it would be using an electronic portal. So following that meeting, staff reached out to Mr. Woods with some additional questions, and following those communications and the May 19th meeting, the report that you have before you was generated based on that information. Yesterday, staff received an email from the County of Lanark, which was added to the agenda as 8O. And includes the terms of reference for this initiative, but some further clarification regarding this process is needed. So accordingly, staff are going to recommend at this time that council defer directing staff on any appointments or this initiative until this additional information has been received from the county. And then staff will bring a revised report to council, hopefully the June 16th meeting. Should also be noted that, discussions with some other municipalities, Mr. Woods hasn't even had an opportunity to present to them yet. And some of those municipalities have expressed some concern about the short timeline and have indicated that they probably won't even have an opportunity to have him in attendance until maybe August or later than that. So I don't think there's any panic. There is a training session scheduled for June the 12th, I believe. But the email from the county indicates that there was going to be additional training opportunities. So that's not like a one-time training. There will be more And I think they probably added those just because people weren't ready.
I'll open it up for discussion. Because I know at the county, we've also been asked if there's council members that would like to sit on the county committee so that there are additional bodies to help.
So Chair, through you, I think there's some concern with it being an election year and elected officials being asked to sit during a campaign period. So there has been a little bit of conversation back and forth. So we're just kind of waiting to get clarification from the county on a few items. Also, I think another one of the concerns is that the larger municipalities have active staff or staff that can spend 25 to 30 hours in these interviews, whereas us small guys don't. So we've kind of asked the county to potentially take the lead on some of these things.
And that could be why then they've asked for additional, if there was, as they were looking for a couple extra volunteers from council to be appointed to a position there.
I think it's good feedback, because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, there was questions, even like during the time frame of like saying, "Ooh, this is a tricky one." I remember even having that conversation with Bert and it's like, and it was like, this is during election year, we're doing this, it's kind of a busy time to try to figure that out. And it was like, the part of it that was because that this is when that grant funding for his position came in. And it's like, where like, they couldn't defer it because that's the grant, those grants have like a time frame, and they weren't gonna allow any like extensions. They said, this is what you get. So it's like, okay, we're gonna jump on it because this is what we got at the time to try to access it. So like, there was, I know, preliminary discussions about sort of how is that gonna balance with the election and everything else. And it is tight, but I know they're trying to get through because of the time frame of what that grant was and everything else too as well, so. I mean, that's the feedback from a lot of the other municipalities too as well, like it's
That time.
well, as far as getting it done, I mean, like it's, I think it's unfortunate because like, at the end of the day, like this is something that we're trying to help the local businesses, we're trying to like, I mean, like, it'd be nice to be able to put things aside to say, hey, like, I mean, I know there's election years, we have these complications, but I mean, our ultimate goal is to make sure that we're trying to find ways to serve our public and to serve our businesses, and this is an opportunity for us to do that. So it's one of those ones where like, how do we find that juggling act, I guess?
Yeah. So it's how can we as a small community support our businesses that are here? And by volunteering our time to sit on the county's committee to go out and ask the questions of the businesses. I don't know whether if we moved forward and even said, because I mean, I believe the warden had made a comment saying about even assisting other municipalities, because when you look at Montague, we don't have as bulk of businesses, but you look at the town of Smith Falls, to Carleton Place, to Perth, who have multiple businesses. They were saying like, even if you could assist other municipalities. So I don't think it's being looked at as, because it's an election year, it's being looked at as trying to hit as many businesses as possible to try and get the answers, because I know that that had been mentioned as well. So.
So where do we go from here, like, as far as like?
So again, Chair, through you, so I was away for the last meeting when Tim presented, but he has presented in the Highlands, and the presentation from there to here are different. Now the county is requesting that EOIs go to them, I think is the understanding. So we've asked for the form for people to fill in if they're interested, so at least we can post it online. The biggest concern for us is that if there's going to be members of council in these interviews, then we feel staff have to be present. So we're gonna have to either hire or transfer duties to somebody to do that, because we have to make sure that there's no campaigning during an election campaign. And everyone from council has put their name in. So that's kind of where we're at, is to make sure that we understand the importance and why they're doing it. It's just, I think all of us small municipalities who have very limited resources and staff already are struggling to find how we're gonna make it work to sit in almost a week worth of interviews when to be honest, the workload piles up during an election year because people have extra questions, they have extra complaints, they have extra, there's extra. So it's, we understand the importance, it's the timing. So we have requested for some I think there's at least 3 or 4 of us at this point have asked just for some extra clarification and information, if the county can potentially take lead and or maybe they hire another staff person to assist in the interviews.
So like, so there's 3 or 4 other municipalities that are also kind of saying that this is not gonna, and that's it.
My understanding is that the one municipality is not even gonna getting the presentation from Tim until August,
Which,
mid-August. Because they don't wanna call a special meeting during our 1 month of downtime to allow us to catch up on some things.
yeah, that makes sense. It is, and it is, I think, there's 100% acknowledge the timing of it is bad.
And it's the perception. So again, during elections, things are questioned and it's the perception of current council sitting in with these businesses. We're also people who can vote and other candidates are not.
So we have the ability to not just have staff, but also have community members if they expressed an interest, correct?
But my understanding now, for compared to what was presented to you, is that the EOI is to go to the county, not us. So I don't think this evening you guys are gonna be appointing anybody, that anybody who has an interest needs to put an expression of interest to the county. But we're getting clarification on that, but that's the understanding now based off the email that we've received.
Well, I mean, I guess we can always.
So I think we should defer this
Clarification.
item, cause we need clarification on it, we meet again before the summer holiday. So we can get that back to you, but I don't want council to appoint somebody at this point in time, cause I don't think that's the direction.
Yeah, I'll see it, I'm, like, we can defer until the next meeting for sure, I guess, and, the only thing is like that June 12th training, I'm like, they see now nobody going for any
No, there are
municipality.
still municipalities that are attending. You know that.
There's staff.
No, there are council members as well. I've been in touch with them.
So when it was presented to us in Lanark
Yeah.
Highlands, it was that there was to be no council members and only staff.
Yeah. And if it's the smaller municipalities, because I know there's a couple of the other municipalities that are still having council members attend because of the fact that they're saying they're not getting it till I think they're having theirs on the 15th or something. So it's after the 12th, but they're having some council. I think 2 council attend on the 12th. And then there'll be an additional training for anybody that wants to attend after that. But yeah.
Then my
So-
recommendation to council would be to direct a couple of staff people to go, and then we'll bring back a work plan of what's gonna drop off for us to do those interviews. What project's gonna get set aside. It's an election year. I think it's really bad timing
It is
for
bad
current
timing.
council to sit and do interviews with businesses.
Unless, as the warden had said, because I'd hate to have it, if we,
Unless you switch up, like the
Correct.
with council comes and does here and you
Exactly.
know, like back
like if
with.
we still, anybody from our council that still wanted to do the training on the 12th and could then assist another municipality and have them assist here as well.
It might be an option so that it's not an overlap.
Just so you don't do it in, like for in our case, we don't do it in our
Yes.
own municipality.
Yeah. We are waiting for feedback from the
Yeah.
county though.
As long as they're gonna have a training that gets everybody in there so that,
And we apologize, we just got the email yesterday.
just because of that timing wise to get so that the training's not missed, they'll have to have an additional training.
They told us there is, that's just the first training on the 12th.
So,
But the
So-
Highlands, they mentioned there was gonna be additional.
so our next council meeting in June is still time for us to then be able to,
If we're supposed to appoint, but I think. Sounds like the expression of interest going to the county.
You have,
Well,
he said it though.
yeah, I know, so a lot of questions, so I do like the personal touch, and I think it's important to be able to go out in the public, but being that it is an election time, I do understand the complications of it. Being that the questions are very kind of direct, would it not be just as easy to put it out to the public so that they would be able to answer these questions and forward it to the governing body as well?
Chair through, so these are just an idea of the types of questions. These aren't the final questions. And when I was speaking with Mr. Woods, while a lot of these are very focused and, potentially multiple choice or very simple, the point of the in-person or face-to-face interview is to sort of draw out that information that people might not be so willing to provide. Like when you say any additional comments in an online survey, a lot of times it's left blank. So it's sort of to have that engagement.
I was just
Yeah.
saying to be able to make this kind of move forward, like, obviously, I think the questions for our municipality versus another municipality may be a little bit different, and maybe us as a council, maybe us with staff, we could develop our own questionnaire, but I'm just saying, at least then we would be able to get some information, if they, because some people don't actually like meeting with people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are very reserved, where at least if you had an opportunity where they could put this information, be a little more discreetly, you might actually be able to get it.
I just think with it being county ran, they're going to have the exact questions of all businesses, but I mean, a business always has the ability to say that they're not going to answer that and when you're another one, but I don't think, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm with Ally. I think we just have to wait till we get clarification. And then it's a quick
The
thing,
next one.
so, and it's only.
Yeah.
Should be okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of hear the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feelings from everybody too as well, and kind of where we're going to as well with that, and I mean, I think we have a county meeting before our next meeting too as well. It'd be interesting just like to hear what other council members there are thinking too as well, and say, yeah, this is what we're getting, this is what we're getting, we're kind of going there too as well, and I mean, talking with Tim too as well, like that's another piece is too as well, so I think, yeah, I mean. Yeah, okay.
Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reeve Farrell, the council defer their direction to staff committee receipt of further information from the county and Lanark. And that staff present an amended report to council once this additional information is received. All in favor? That's carried. The next report is municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Bracken on the MRCC financials.
Thank you, Chair. This report is coming in front of council to ensure that council is aware of the financials for the MRCC. As council will recall, back in February, we changed the terms of reference, and in that it was to provide the treasurer with the ability and authority to approve expenditures, so the committee didn't have to wait to come to council. So on a quarterly basis, it was monthly, but to be honest, the expenditures are not really relative to get them on a monthly basis. So quarterly, they receive a financial update that is attached to this report. Included in that, with the changes with the terms of reference, there were a few things. So council did request that staff come back onto the MRCC committee to get kind of the committee redirected for that. And in relation to that, staff requested that the meetings be held at 5 or 6 o'clock as opposed to 7, because we have to stay after a full day's work to go to the meetings, and sometimes aren't getting home till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So with that, for the committee to be able to meet at 6 o'clock, it came up that it would be too difficult. They can't eat, they can't do those kind of things after work. So I did approve like a light snack. Sandwiches basically is what they get before the meeting. And I wanted to make sure that all of council was aware of that. And if council is not in favor of an expenditure of such, that they would allow the committee to move back to 7 o'clock and staff would not be in attendance for the meetings. So we're in favor of that as well, for council to move the meetings back to 7 and staff not attend. The committee has been doing fairly well the last few months, so I think that they could get things moving and go from there. Any questions on the financials or changes? If council also, if you guys would like to take back the authority and remove it from my position. And then this can come back on a monthly basis, really, to you guys.
No, I think that we get the minutes from the meetings. I think the financials continuing on a quarterly basis unless there's something that jumps out that as anything else comes to council as needed. As for the light lunch, I think that's just a minor expenditure. These members are volunteers and receive no compensation and yet put many hours in, not just on the meetings, but all the activities. I think it's important that, it's great to hear that they're moving forward. I know we have just a short term left for this council, and then who knows who will be stepping forward to sit on that committee. So my personal thought is that we just leave things as status quo, keep the light lunch, keep the 6 p.m. and then once the election happens, we can look at seeing as to who wants to sit on there and what timing works for them. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's important if staff is staying, that they, you can find a light lunch or somewhere, sandwiches, whatever it is. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But also, if the committee is doing well and they want to go back to 7 o'clock and then staff doesn't have to go, I'm good with that too, because they already put in long hours. And if this is an opportunity to let the bird fly and everybody go home at a normal time, I think that'd be good too. So I'm good either way, but I think it's important if staff doesn't spend their entire lives here. So.
Very true.
You know, staff is great at keeping us focused and guided, but I do agree with Trevor, and if we can give them back some of their time and do some of this on our own, I think that would also be beneficial to everyone. As long as the lines of communication between the chair and staff is still there and we're able to govern that way.
I agree with the same idea. I think it's better if our staff doesn't have to be there. I still like the idea of light lunch and be there at 6 instead of being there at 7. Even for the members that are on the committee. At least I'd be actually for that, you know, getting around the side of the heads.
I'm saying, that doesn't matter to me. I mean, like I mean, you two at the meetings, like if staff are keeping you on track, like you say, there's a benefit there and they're continuing to do it. I mean, I think it's always been nice having staff involved with the committee and the meetings and keeping everything in unison. But if you're getting to a point where, like staff, you don't need them there, or if we need them there every second meeting or whatever, like whatever that feeling is or whatever that is. Where it's like, maybe we don't need staff tonight, we're just having a light meeting about something, blah, blah, blah. We can come back to you, like, I don't know what that looks like, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it's however we can kind of keep it going and keep it in unison, it's great, obviously. What has happened over the years with this has been phenomenal for the community, so however we can make sure it keeps going. Light lunch, I mean, we talked about even giving them, we even talked about, at one point, there was the stipend too as well that was there, and we ended up not doing that, I can't remember why we didn't do that. So like, these kind of things are minor things for what people put their community time into, like they say,
I think even if we could move staff to maybe quarterly, just coming back, just make sure everything's kind of been noted or every 6 months or something, just to kind of, let's make sure everything's noted, everything's been done, where we at, and that might be something, but we'd have to, I guess, bring that back to MRCC and see the. No,
Council makes that decision.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Chair, through you, I think it is important for staff to be at like kind of that AGM where, this past year, we encouraged the MRCC to pick their dates
Yep.
for items and get them booked in. I think that was very beneficial because the
Absolutely.
hall is so busy now. Again, previous years, that was not a problem. Now it is.
Yeah.
Now it needs to be booked and thought out a year in advance. So I think that even if it's that staff attends like an AGM type thing, just to get the ball rolling, and have the rental up that they can say, yep, it's available, nope, it's not, let's pick some dates,
Absolutely.
tentative, you know. Cause I mean, it's a great thing that the hall's busy, but then you have to be obviously a little more organized and prepared. So I think that minimum, like an AGM type thing would be good. Obviously, if there's a new council or a new committee coming in, it would be maybe for a couple of meetings to kind of just make sure things are rolling. But I think that, so if staff aren't in attendance, the secretary will have to be more responsible for updating the documents and things like that.
And I 100% agree with that, like, Ally was there on the year beginning, and it was great, she kind of said, okay, here's your events that you've done last year, if there's anything else, but you gotta book. And it was wonderful being able to have her look at the computer, which I can't turn on, and actually tell us, okay, here's the dates available, here's what's already booked. And was able to flag and say, okay, that's available, that's booked, here you go, and we were able to go through all the ones that we do every year. Throw in a couple of other ones, and it was great to have that 100% response rate then, as opposed to sending out an email to Kirsten and Ally to see what's available, what's not available, and then bring it to the council, the rec meeting the next month. But yeah, I would love to not take up all staff's time, and a couple times a year, maybe twice a year, maybe once a year, but just not have them there as often as what they are. A lot of it, I think we can manage on our own, and then through emails get the rest.
I just want to say too, it was great having Kirsten there for some of the events too, because her input was really well thought out when we were doing things, so I just wanted to, Ally for sure too, and
Yeah.
but Kirsten, I just wanted to appreciate what she was good to.
So we'll leave it that the light lunch continues, 6 o'clock is still the time. Staff don't have to attend, except on occasion. And the treasurer will still have the authority to address the expenditures as they are.
That sounds good.
So then that will require a revised terms of reference
Correct.
to be brought to the June 16th meeting. Correct?
I think we just have to look at the wording of the terms of reference. I think it may be that staff are involved based on the direction from the municipal manager, and if council has given me direction to say be in attendance when needed.
Yeah.
Then I don't think we need to, but let's just check the wording from that person.
I like when needed.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly,
that's-
when
because
needed.
every time it's like, I don't need to be here, but I should be here. AGM like makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Absolutely makes a lot of sense, but there might be times where it's like, oh, we're getting close, it'd be nice if we had just to make sure that we're online here. And then, the next meeting is like, this is what's on it, I think we're okay, like, I think that's a good, now we can't say to staff, hey, we need you here tomorrow. But I mean, like, I think we can have an idea of like, it's a, yeah.
Or if there's a thought of a new event or something that we feel like staff we might benefit from staff being able to say, no, you can't do that, yes, you can do that, or how that works. We can always reach out to them a month in advance and say, hey, do you think we can get Ally or Kirsten out there for this event, this meeting? We have some questions, and as opposed to bouncing it through emails back and forth, it might be a little bit easier.
And or like your budget meeting discussion, those kinds of things. Yeah, help guide the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we understand. So just
Perfect.
as long as the wording is that it's kind of up to the municipal manager position, I think we're good.
So I need some help on this one, because it says moved by Councillor Bass, second by Councillor Johnson, that council direct the municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk to advise the MRC to not change the light lunch expenditure. The next part was, and that council direct staff to bring back or not bring back an amendment. So we need to bring back the amendment.
If required.
With reference to the treasurer's ability.
Yes,
to
we're not
bring
bringing back that. So within an add. So, and that council direct staff to
Not bring back.
not bring back an amendment to the terms of reference to remove the authority of the treasurer to approve financials.
And the
But-
council directs staff to only be in attendance when needed, as directed by the municipal manager. I think that the terms of reference are along those. We'll double check.
That council direct the municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk to advise the MRCC to not change the light lunch expenditures, and that council direct staff to not bring back an amendment to the MRCC terms of reference to remove the authority for the treasurer to approve financials for the committee, and council direct staff to only be in attendance as needed as directed by the municipal manager.
Yep.
All in favor? That's carried. And next is our municipal manager, treasurer, Director clerk, breaking on the strategy for gravel road optimization plan.
I'm gonna stand up here just so I can see the PowerPoint too.
Always scares me when you do that.
Sorry. Behave.
Like, see, if ever scared is good.
Go to the next slide, Grace, please. Okay, so an update on the status for the gravel road optimization strategies that came to council in April, and then the open house. So the public survey was completed, results were presented to the committee of the whole on May 19th. There were 73 responses, or 1.87% of the total population. Unfortunately, this is a very limited response for data purposes, probably one of our lower responses for some of our surveys. People cared a lot more about waste than they do about roads. So council had a lengthy discussion on May 19th. Unfortunately, I was not in attendance at the meeting. I did go back and watch the meeting. And I have some questions in relation to the discussion. So for clarification. So there was a lot of discussion around data and filling gaps. So we'll kind of, if council doesn't mind, we'll go through each item by item so that I can get some clear direction on moving forward. On May 22nd, council approved at the special meeting for us to proceed with Guthrie Road, improved drainage, ditching, road buildup with the previously slotted gravel maintenance budget allocation. And they approved monies to be spent on drainage superintendent, which our public works manager has been in contact with to come up with a plan in relation to the Guthrie Road area. So some of the items we need clarification on is what data is council requesting prior to making a resolution. We'll go through later on in more detail. What gaps is council referring to? So that's important for us to develop a strategy or plan to move forward. Gravel road maintenance improvements, not all the options were discussed on May 19th. The private, such as private gravel road grant fund policy development, road upgrade draft policy considerations. If we're gonna consider having a policy like that, we need to collect that data. Reducing speeds on gravel roads to 60, there was discussion on that. We just want some clarification. Gravel material, the 2027 tender, there was some discussion. I just want to make sure that we're clear on our moving forward on that. And developing in terms of reference for a road committee. So there was discussion, again, just clarification on gravel roads, only all roads. Are we doing in terms of reference at all? So data. So I'm just looking, I'm gonna go line by line, and I'm just looking for a consensus from you folks on what data we're already collecting traffic and speed. So basically traffic counts of various segments of roads. So some of our longer roads, we're gonna do them in segments because depending on where they have intersecting road, depends on how much traffic they have. So I'm just making sure everybody is good with a full week, 7 days, or would you like a longer cycle than that for traffic counts?
A full week should give you.
Yeah, we're comfortable with a week. We just want to make sure that that's all council wants, because there was discussion of 2 weeks.
You had something first.
It'll allow us to get around the township a
Mine's gonna
little
be the same
quicker.
as Karen said. I think a week is sufficient because it'll allow you more time to be able to get more roads throughout the short season, short window we have.
Correct,
And otherwise you may not be able to hit as much.
that's right.
So then our data would be less.
That's right, and keeping in mind that whenever we get around, we wanna do like more of a seasonal, that as we collect data and we have at least a database, then we can start collecting additional data. So in the summer, it's this, but in fall and winter, it's this. So, our recommendation is 7 days for right now.
what you said was basically gonna be the point that I was gonna bring up, saying like, I think the 7 days is good, because then, once again, but then when we go through everybody, or all the roads, then we're going back through, and we're collecting more data exactly at different times, different, and like.
Especially the high traffic.
It's almost like a continuously updating sort of like information sense, and it's like, this is the one that kind of happens, and was there a change from this summer to this summer? It's also good to get it, like, if we do it in May this year, but we were able to do that other road in June the next year, maybe there was a hiccup, maybe there was something that, you know, like, it should be a continuous sort of like rotation, so.
But yeah, summer cottagers, so like summer increased traffic, you know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
wanna be able to have substantial data that's usable. But to get our data updated, we're recommending a 7-day cycle for now. So we're getting a
Yeah.
weekend and a week, all the weekdays in.
Yeah,
Okay, traffic count will also include the types of traffic, so heavy traffic. The reason why we're saying this is that if we are looking at potentially doing a gravel road upgrade policy for roads that meet their criteria, one of those criteria is there heavy traffic, cause that is a higher score. So our armadillos collect that type of data. So we can do that. So our recommendation was to go ahead and get that and get it into the data as well.
now the data that we would collect with not the armadillo, so like, we still wanna have that.
It
information.
doesn't collect heavy traffic
Yeah,
though.
but it just does, it's
It would do
still important
traffic.
data.
It's important data, those ones keeping in mind that they do traffic count and speed, but the speed is not, I would say that it's skewed because the honest people are gonna slow down.
Yeah.
So, it's great to use as a traffic count, which we could use for maybe some of our dead end roads and things like that, that is not a cut through of just random traffic to collect that traffic count. We can come back around on the speeding of those, but at least it'll get us that traffic count right away. But we don't recommend it for some of the higher traffic roads because the honest people do slow down. They go, oh geez, and they back off.
It gives us the number, the traffic count number. We don't
Correct.
necessarily want it.
Not tight.
Necessarily, we're talking about the speed, but it gives us at least, yeah, and when I speed, it just gives us the traffic count number.
Correct.
Which I mean, like, if you put it somewhere else, you're like, you know, we put the armadillo out and it says like there was 700 cars a day on this road, and yes, it gets all the information, then we move that one and we put it on there, and all of a sudden it says there's 900 cars a day. At least it gives us that traffic count, say, well, maybe we need to put the arm, like, was there a skewed information of data there that we wanted?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And they're good for the dead ends, cause those ones are not gonna see those big heavy truck usually, unless we know there's a pit down there or something, then we'll, you know, like staff know where the certain roads are that the heavy traffic hits, and we'll make sure that the armadillos are on those
Yeah.
roads. So everybody's good with that? Okay, so speed data, we'll collect that, so that obviously we're doing, is there actually a speeding issue or is it a perception of speeding? Cause there's definitely two items there. Ditching, so while, we do think it's important, obviously with keeping that second machine this year, hoping that it will live for a couple of years for us, to get some ditching and drainage improvements done. Very rocky in Montague, not always an easy feat or an inexpensive feat. But I know Public Works wants to work towards that. So we're gonna be looking at ditching. Is it present and is it sufficient? So just because there is a ditch, that's great, but is it normally an area that washes out in the spring because they fill up, things like that? Good?
Yeah.
Well, so ditching, if it's not sufficient and we have to ditch substantially deeper and we're changing the road, will guide rails be required? So we're gonna keep note of some of those things. Drainage, are there culverts or should there be additional culverts? So I think Guthrie might be one of those examples that might require some additional cross culverts. So we're gonna look at that, I say we, Ed's gonna look at that when he's out, doing, the drives or Public Works, basically saying, we know that these are problem areas in certain times of the year, and probably an additional cross culvert might allow the drainage of the ditching to go to the right place. And our drainage consultant will also help us, on some of those areas that we're not sure really what the appropriate, step forward is.
I think, like, that's one of those things, I think that, like, bring Lucas involved too as well with some of that information. I think that's his expertise. It's
Right.
like, yeah, you could do a cross culvert here, or like the water needs to get, like, he understands where it's flowing to, he understands where it's going. So I think getting him involved with that, I think would definitely be an asset for us. So that when he says, do we require assistance? And I agree, I think we do require just, why not
Yeah.
use, and he's a bucket load of dollars too as well, so I mean, like,
Yeah, he's great.
yeah, so like, why not use him? If we have a great person there, let's use him for that kind of stuff, and then when Ed sends the boys to go dig him, we know we're doing the right thing.
Correct. And he also applies for the provincial grant every year to offset some of his costs. So he's a win-win. So the width of the road surface, so that we're actually measuring what's the width of our road surface, our gravel, our hardtop, whatever it is. And then we'll also see if there's any surveys of what is the actual width that we own. So we have some problem roads where we only own maybe 44 feet, not the 66, so that it's documented, so we know, and planning then knows if somebody comes in for a severance, that those are areas that we would be looking for widening. I know Kirsten always looks at that anyways, but at least it's a document, to kind of understand that.
So
I don't think that's as important to have like right up front for a gravel road plan, but it would be something that we wanna kind of, if we're out collecting data, we would collect some of that.
yeah, so we're gonna go through every road and see what the actual ownership and width of, like, how much.
Eventually,
I was saying, how much work is that?
Eventually.
You do it for severance, and then that's when we do it, to go through all 105
No.
clicks. So
we would be focusing on roads that we know are gonna be, more of like the 1 to 5 year plan of needing work. So we're gonna have that up front cause there's gonna be legal costs associated, right? So we need to have that in our plan.
Okay.
Legal issues, ownership issues, like I said, that's gonna be basically on whenever we do all of our data and we're looking at kind of our project roads for the next 5 years. We're not gonna be looking at everything, we're gonna be focusing on the need of the short term. Soft spots, location, severity, so obviously there's multiple roads with soft spots, but what's the location, what's the severity? Basically, what's the risk factor based on traffic counts, number of households, all those kind of things. And then we'll score on a scale accordingly to address those issues as well. Again, there is a small budget line each year for those kind of things, so it's just then to prioritize where those areas are gonna happen.
So is that, we're almost getting like an inventory, because there is some spots that are more soft than others.
That's right.
I've done this a couple of years ago too as well with that, where Steve had recognized some spots and
Mhm.
dug them out, put
Yep.
down the cloth, put all that kind of stuff and started to like, so I'm almost getting like a listing of saying, these are the soft spots. Every road
Okay.
has bumpy spots, but some of the roads are this is the spot that's the worst.
Yep.
And like, so we're gonna start like, listing, say, inventory and saying like, these are the ones that we wanna start.
Based on this scale
tackling.
and our current budget of 25,000 a year, that, this one is scaled to be addressed first because of the traffic count, those kind of things. So, yeah, it's basically gonna be a plan for the soft spot fixes.
And then we have that list, so when someone says this spot is terrible, you know what, you're right, it is terrible.
That's right.
It's number 7 on the list, this is why it's number 7 on the list, this is what we're working towards, we would like to do it earlier, but
Correct.
here's the costing, here's the budgeting reason why
Correct.
it's there, and that's what we're working towards.
Yeah.
That's a good explanation. Yeah.
So everybody's good with that? And then again, if we're looking at that gravel road upgrade policy, we need to know approximately how many houses per kilometer of road segment. So, we'll do our best to, once it's over 10, it doesn't matter. So, again, I'll just use Guthrie as an example because there's several, it's more than the 10 on that section of roads. We know that it scores the highest on that, for that. Okay, condition of road matrix. So, we think that basically a road matrix should be developed for final approval of council. And so this is where we need direction from the road committee too. Road committee, so there's a couple of options. These road matrix basically, so that you're not just having one person drive around the township and score a road based on their perception of it at one point in time. You're gonna have, previously I've had, where council members drive their own vehicles by themselves, well, with a staff person, but they score it themselves, so the council's not, you're not talking to other council members, you're driving in your own vehicle at the speed limit, you're supposed to drive it, and if you don't feel comfortable, then you have to make note of that. And score it, and then we gather all of those scores from those road matrix and do an average for that consideration of what that road would be. So that would be our kind of idea for that as well. A couple of things you can do if a road committee is established, they could potentially do a scoring of the matrix, and or you actually provide it to each property owner in the tax bill and allow them to score their own road. And provide feedback to the township if they choose to do so. So some of the things that would be on your road matrix is condition of surface, type of surface, potholes, safety concerns, season, weather, type of traffic observed. Do you feel comfortable driving the speed limit? What was the posted speed limit? Is there a posted speed limit? All those kind of things. So in my previous employment, I drove with one of the council members and they looked over at me. I said, "You're not driving 80. This road's an 80. He's like, "I don't feel comfortable driving 80. I'm like, "Then you better mark that down." So that would be kind of to gather that data. And I think that will also help in the, as far as speed of a road. If you don't feel comfortable driving an 80 on a road that's supposed to be 80, then maybe the road shouldn't be 80.
So when on an unmarked road, that's just the provincial law, right? Unmarked, it is 80 kilometers an hour, but we also have signs up that says drive to road conditions. So where does that sort of like, where do those sort of play back and forth?
From a liability perspective, we're saying you can drive 80. So if they're driving 80 and lose control, obviously then it'll be on us to try and provide and justify that our road meets specific specs to have unique
And the
road.
driving to road conditions is not a,
Every road will have to be posted as that though, at every intersection that you might turn on to.
yeah, we don't have that on every road. We have it on a lot, but not on every road.
Correct.
Yeah.
It would almost be easier to drop the speed limit than to have that sign on every road, because then you have to have that, you're almost equivalent.
It's not a problem till it's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So is council in favor of developing some kind of a road matrix to come back to council for consideration?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yes, I am. I would like to have a road matrix. My only question is with the approval of council and the road committee, but
I said if
that'll take
approved.
a while.
That's why I said if approved.
So
So I
that's
think-
by that?
Yeah, if the road committee is approved, otherwise we're just bringing it back to council. Because ultimately for us, if you're looking at potentially putting it in the tax bills for people to provide feedback, that's August, so you don't have time to develop a. road.
Yeah, and that's why I was even thinking with the road committee, they might not be up and running until the fall either.
No.
So would it just behoove us to say approved by council and then the road committee uses it? Is that,
I think that's in my recommendation,
is it?
Yeah.
I should read that then.
I think, but
You did read it, that's why you said it.
Yeah.
Good thing, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
consensus is good then for that to come back here. So I'm not recommending that we bring back data in pieces to every meeting. It'll pull a lot of resources from us to write reports with some of the limited changes. So my preference would be that on a quarterly basis, obviously the public works manager will include what's going on in his quarterly report, but that we bring back a fulsome data. My fear is that if we bring back pieces, you're not all gonna remember what came back. So, and then you're looking at data as a whole, not piecemealing, being like, well, that seems odd, or that seems off, or this seems, whereas whenever you see everything put together as data, and you've had an opportunity to drive a road with a staff person, and score a matrix yourself, I think it'll help you better than whenever the data comes forward, you're gonna go, that makes sense, because I remember driving that road and that was whatever the case was.
I don't think when we were discussing it, although I know it was clear as mud. When we were discussing it, that we wanted the piecemeal of the data. It was more or less updates of what we've done and what we're doing for the residents to see that we've done this work on this road, and not so much the data, because it does make sense what you're saying. You wanna have a wholesome data on speeds and information that way, but just more or less to a Coles Notes update of here's what we've done in the last 2 months, if it was every 2 months, let's say.
So that's quarterly. You guys get those quarterly, and to be honest, the communications in relation to road, we've been posting
Oh, yeah.
daily
You know, that's
what we've been doing.
amazing, although some people still don't read it, but it is amazing.
so I guess that's kind of the whole thing is that we feel like the communication, we've escalated it even further with the daily social posting and really letting people know where we're out and where we are. Cause if you're looking for more than quarterly, then all of staff should probably provide more than quarterly
Fair enough.
to make sure that it's not one department.
Yeah, I think all of that information is good, and coming back and we don't want too much piecemeal stuff, but one thing I would like to see though is like the roads count and speed data information. To me, can that be a working document that is?
We can bring that quarterly.
That
We'll
is
do it in
seen
practice.
anyways, or is it but as it's like, is it something that could be like, part of like, like, that's posted as a working document, like the Civic to Web, where it's like, it's been updated and it can be looked at or accessed or seen anytime? As far as like, here's where the speed data is, here's where the.
But again, they're not comparing all the roads though. They're just looking at a couple and not getting the true, cause somebody's going, my road has more, yeah. To really look at data, you need the full picture though, cause you're comparing it against what?
Yeah, I think it's more just.
Brown Road compared to Ford Road is not a comparison, right? So, and again, if it's out for every 7 days, we meet every 2 weeks, we have to have our reports ready the Wednesday before the meeting. You're gonna have maybe one set of.
So not looking for the report coming back, it's just a working document. Where is that working document stored sort of right now? Like the data right now, like say from the old data we have, is that something where I can just go on
It's on the roads need study on the website.
that one there, right? That's the most, so like, as we update it, is that going to be available on the Civic to Web, like, site, or is it just gonna be internalized here?
It's internal.
And then put it there,
Until it goes to council, it's internal.
So it can not just be a working document that can just be seen at any time? Like it's updated with like, here's more information of the road data that's put onto it, it's been updated again.
Yeah, you
And
can,
it's just an accessible document that can just be seen, just to say, yeah, that's what the road, that's what the road counts are and so not bringing it necessarily every time you updated it. It's just a working document that can be seen.
for sure, we can do that, Chair through you. Just be prepared that then Public Works Manager is gonna get pulled to answering a lot of phone calls and not being out doing data collection. Cause there's gonna be a lot of questions about the data that's getting posted, because it's not fulsome. So they're looking at a piece of it and not all, I'm going, how come my road's not done? How come this isn't done? That's my concern, is that you're gonna pull us away from the background work to deal with questions because all the data is not there. And how come my road's not done? When are you coming to my road? We already have that. I would say today, both of our days were consumed with just questions. So we can do it, but be prepared that it's going to delay us actually doing the collection of data. Because we have to respond to the people. But if council wants that, that's fine.
I think the biggest thing was
I think then you might have to give us direction on what roads you want done first and why. Because we're gonna have to explain that to people.
I don't want anything that's gonna delay this anything, so.
I agree with the delay, I just wanna see the data coming in.
We can bring
I
it
wanna
back
see the data.
quarterly though.
Say, so if we have something coming in, sorry, but or if in the next quarterly to show some of the data already or the data, then okay, I just like to see the data coming in, so let's say. But if they think it's gonna be delayed, then, I mean, I don't wanna delay anything.
So I
Make
guess,
sure we get that.
just to get clarification from council, is there a question on that staff aren't collecting the data and that's why you want it posted regularly for the public to see it?
No.
Like instead of it coming back quarterly, like it would for any of us? Again, cause then I have to say that all of our departments then should be posting regularly, how many planning applications, how many tax applications, how many to update the public on what we're doing.
I think quarterly's fine.
and I think the thing is, it's to ensure the people that came and that did the delegation, the people that came out to the open house, it was to ensure that they see that it is a priority.
Mhm.
Staff recognize it as
Yeah.
a priority, council recognizes it as a priority. But everybody has to understand there's steps that have to be taken before we can get to more data. And that's where we say, well, you've got to have data, but they just want the assurance that it is going to get done, that it's not just something where we said yes and then it gets put to the side and gets forgotten. So, I mean, I'm good with quarterly. And that's it. It's like, to me, it shows we are making progress because that report's gonna show we're making progress. So,
Well, I think, and cheers for you, sorry. You've already approved Guthrie, so they're gonna see people out, they're gonna see the work happening there. You know, we're posting more regularly about where the grading is happening, where the calcium's being applied, where the gravel application is happening, you know? So I think that we're proving that, yes, okay, we hear you, we're trying to improve in certain areas. But for us to actually develop a plan to be able to present to the public and to have that, and maybe another open house or that feedback, we need time to get the data. Otherwise, we need council to hire somebody to collect the data. Then we can update it on a daily basis, a weekly basis, that's fine, because somebody else is collecting it, providing it to us, and it's not us doing all that work in the background, plus trying to do our day-to-day jobs and not let things fall.
Just one thing that's come out of the roads open house, a lot of the people have come in to speak with us and stuff like that. If you read any of the minutes, I know a lot of people don't watch these, but if you read the minutes, we're doing tons of stuff. Staff is doing tons of stuff all the time. So it's all out there that we took this seriously. Every one of us took this very seriously. Staff takes it very seriously. Everyone, if they pay attention in the slightest, understand that we are. So quarterly works for me. I don't want to do anything that slows down what you guys are doing. I do like to have data, just like Jeff's saying, but it's one of those things where everybody's working super hard. And a lot of people that I've chatted with, they acknowledge that, and they acknowledge the work that's going on. So I think even just having the roads meeting, all that kind of stuff, they feel that the eyes have been opened and that they have the ear of council and staff. And to prove the point, a lot of people who are critics, and you know, they're willing to tell you, we don't think this is right. They're also the same people that have come up to me now and said, you guys did an excellent job. And can you please tell Ed that he did an excellent job and his staff? So I think we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of that I like data, just again, like Karen was saying to Jeff, but it has to be timely, it has to be fulsome, otherwise it's useless. And I had a career where I don't know exactly what you're talking about, your data means nothing to me. So, and I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed with trying to come back to council every 2 weeks with something. If something pops up and it's holy cow, we have a whole bunch of speeders on Birch Hill Road, then I want to know about that. But other than that,
We address that. with this
yeah,
meeting.
exactly. So anyway, that's my rant. Thank you.
The transparency has been fantastic and the posting, whoever's doing it, Grace. It is doing a great job and it is noticeable and. Data for the sake of just doing more work, I agree, it's not worth it. You know, yes, we want the data, but we don't want you to work harder to just get us pieces of data just for the sake of getting data. Everything's been going wonderfully. We're getting a lot of positive comments on the work that's being done by the staff and like Trevor said, there's a noticeable effort going out there and I think it's noticeable, I think it's great, and I love our roads.
So again, and chair through you, just to be, the public works manager and myself had a discussion, like even with the drainage discussions, you know, we're gonna kind of come up with a preliminary plan with the drainage superintendent, and then we'll have an open house for all of the people in Guthrie to be able to come see, ask questions, do those things. By all means, it's easier for us when we can get the feedback as a group as opposed to individual people calling us every day. So we're getting there. It's gonna take time and we're also getting some positive feedback from people, a lot of positive feedback from the open house. So it's just, we have to get there, but that is the plan even with Guthrie, is that, okay, you know, we're doing this. This is the plan. This is your property. We're gonna bring Lucas in so he can answer the questions, no different than we did with the Ford Drain project.
Yeah.
so that they fully understand, right? That is the plan, moving forward. So Guthrie is kind of our trial project, that we're hoping we do well, but you can always learn and do better so that we use that moving forward as well. So again, we need that data and that information on how that worked to be able to set for the next one too. So we appreciate that you approved it so we can do that. But I think we've even had some good conversations and good feedback from the folks of Guthrie that they feel like they're heard and they feel like, you know, they're happy that this is happening. So we're not against bringing data. We just want to make sure that it's appropriate, timely, and not taking away from the actual work that we have to do. Okay, so, gaps. During the meeting on the 19th, there was some mention of gaps that needed to be filled. I'm just looking for council to provide us direction on what the gaps are. So I don't know. There wasn't really a particular item mentioned about the gaps. So are you talking about additional staffing? Hiring a consultant to complete plan strategies? Hiring consultant for drainage assessments plans? I think we've got consensus here that council's good if we feel it's appropriate, and in the budget. Provide more information, communication to the public, like what gaps was council referring to is what I'm looking for there.
I think, were we not talking about possibly hiring somebody extra for the grading in the springtime? To have more on a grader, and that, is that what?
That's it. I don't remember the word gaps, but I could have used that word as well. But with reference to if we, because we have 2 operators and 2 graders, so if that. We get a week where it's like you wanna get the whole thing done and it's still a time where we might be able to hire just a contractor to come in and help us to get it at that peak time. Maybe that was the intent.
That's what I thought.
I don't think anybody was saying hire additional staff. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, if some overtime is needed for our current staff to do some work, that I don't think is an issue with staff, with council.
So I think for us, Chair, through you, the overtime, our limited staff are tied to this place and on call 24/7 from November till April. The summer is their time to use their vacation and be with their family and take time away. So, if we're gonna pay for overtime, I think our recommendation would be to either hire some additional casual staff or have the monies for casual and or a contracted service, to not burn our staff out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that is exactly in our convoluted way that we run around in circles, that meeting you were at. It was, how do we fill gaps?
Yeah.
And we recognize that the staff does work overtime and they're here a lot. Is there a way that we could have just a summertime person who comes in, spells people off, especially if we're gonna do a lot more ditching and trying to do stuff. So one of the 2 people that are grade operators might be doing ditching. Is it good? Is it fiscally responsible to have somebody else do that? Also tying it to a little bit less overtime. We don't burn our staff out because our staff also are our fire department. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where they spend hours going to calls, doing stuff in the evening, and then they're back at work in the daytime. So I think when we were talking gaps, that's the kind of stuff that we were trying to get.
I think you're bang on, trying to fill in those things, especially with that, like those, we talk about the greater big pieces too as well, is like we need to bring in a contract to help with that too as well, so like they're not doing it all the time, and there's probably availability of some of those operators too as well. To be able to bring, so it's pieces like that, because once again, like we don't want the staff to be burnt out and working the whole time. We want them to take their vacation, we want them to take that time, and get recharged and spend time with their family so they can come back and that they're A1 when they're here, right? So it's.
We did recognize too, that we do bring in the extra help at the winter maintenance, and we said that we felt that we should look at doing the same for this.
And it was something that came out of the roads, the open house.
It was, yeah, go ahead.
And it was sort of like, you know, if we get 400 mils of rain in the next couple weeks, well, the roads, although they're wonderful right now, are going to be beaten and battered. And staff can only work so many hours, so that's where that again would
Additional.
we're additional staff or a contract where we might be able to, once the rain peters off for a bit, be able to kind of corrective action to try to bring the roads back to a normal driving. Because those are exceptional circumstances, sort of like spring. Spring, you can only do so much, you know, as the thaw happens, you're getting beaten with the thawing, the water overrun and all that stuff. But there's only so many hours in the day and staff can't work 24/7. Although I did see you guys ditching on Sunday, which is great.
Okay, so what I'm hearing consensus then is additional casual staff budget if available and or contracted services at this time.
Does any of our, like our casual, like they know how to rep the snowplows, but they know how to drive, are anybody greater trained besides? Or
Not currently, no.
not currently?
They're traffic control trained though.
Is that, and so that'd be like the other piece too as well, like how long does it take to, like if you wanted to throw like, I think just like Trevor and I into the thing of the grader. Like it would take him a shorter amount of time, for someone who's a little slower, like how long would it take for me to learn how to?
Honestly, I prefer to leave our operators in the equipment, but then we have the extra bodies to help with the physical, like hands-on, you know, if it's doing culverts or other, you know, other
Yeah.
things, driving a dump
Labor.
truck.
Yeah, it's as you guys see fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Council
you-
isn't here to direct stuff
No,
like that,
no.
that's your guys' job.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Mhm.
That's right, yeah.
No, you're right though, and what I get from it, you don't wanna train either one of us, which is very.
I will drive around in the grid with the laid out.
That was his nice way.
I like, that was a great answer. So I think, so that'd be the bigger piece is that you can bring in those people to help
Yeah.
that portion to make sure that they can just focus on. And so we do have the ability for our grader operators to do, I'm gonna say a little bit more grading if we support them in a different manner too as well.
So they're not
that's what
in a
we're looking
trap.
For that side of it too as well.
Although you're
I
looking
think
at
that's
it,
exactly, so it's like
Yeah.
those Mandarin to get it.
Okay, so that clarifies that. I appreciate that discussion, council. Just trying to move along here. Okay, so gravel maintenance optimization. So increased wages budget line for public works. So basically in 2027 for the budget, if this council member, if any of you as council members are sitting here, you're going to see then we're going to include some additional, and it may not be all in one year, but you're gonna see that we're gonna start to bump for casual time. In 2026, we'll more than likely bring them in because we have some ditching and drainage, and even the part-time equipment operator / facilities has been very busy with facilities, and we have a safety issue at the front to address. So he's gonna be pulled on changing the front office. So we will look at budget and look at potential areas that we can save to offset some of the wage costs. But I think council kind of on a consensus has given approval to say, yes, bring in some additional casual if needed. Okay. So the other is the data compilation. Again, it's going to be time consuming and lengthy. So coming back on a quarterly, I think we're gonna have to see on the day-to-day as far as staff kind of collecting some of that information, and we'll get back to council on our ability and our time to collect that. The next one is private gravel road grant funding policy. So this was the second highest ranking in the survey for strategies for council to consider. I'm just really looking on a consensus from council. Are you looking for us to prepare there's other municipalities that have this, that it's similar to our community grant application. They apply on an annual basis and it's up to a maximum, some set a maximum of $1,200 a year that you can apply for. And it's for, you know, gravel purchases or grading, expenditures, not the township doing the grading, a hired contractor do the grading that they pay and they look after, so that we have no liability there. Is council looking at us bringing this back to council for consideration for the 2027 to be posted at the same time as the donations? Our thought would be that it could be accommodated with our donation line currently, and then slightly increase each year moving forward if it's something that you want to move forward to. Every road's not gonna get a grant every year, so I don't know if it would have a huge financial impact, and ultimately it's up to council to approve the application anyways. So you said how much, no different than the grants, you said how much you wanna have in that line, and you approve as you consider the applications. So I'm just looking on direction of is this something that you want to come back, because it was ranked second highest? Again, 73 respondents, but
If we contribute money towards a private road, does that bring us into a legal discussion about that? Because I know, and I just use it from my own experience, we do it up where the cottage is, and we have a private road, and we do get a municipal grant from Madawaska Valley to help do it, but part of the contingency behind that too, as well, is to make sure that we had our own private road insurance, because if they were contributing money, we needed to have some sort of protection. Because it would come back on the municipality for the funds that they were also contributing to as well. I don't know if there's like any sort of like legal, like.
it's, so in the funding and in the legal jargon, it's that it's a donation. It is in no way tying us to have any liability or responsibility for the contractor doing the work. Now, if you were going to look at that, oh, the township's gonna go and grade the work as opposed to as an in lieu, then yes, but we're not.
So we just.
It's on their
donation,
contractor.
We can get away with.
That's
I
right.
mean, you should, like, if you're on a private road, you should, and that's the other side of it too as well. If you're on a private road and you're doing that maintenance, you might wanna have insurance, because if something goes wrong and something
Well, they
decides to sue. That's the other side too as well, is like, that's why we like, I mean, I know we have the insurance out of it, because if we're doing that work, you don't wanna be left in being sued personally because of the work you did too as well. So it's just long as not, I don't know what it comes, because like my biggest right up front is that legal worry. And then the next roll down, I don't know what other people think.
Go ahead.
I think it's good that if we're gonna have it, that we have it brought to council at the same time as we do all the other, donations, and, cause they would bring forward what they're looking for, why they're looking for it, and if we can help here and there where we can, and where it's financially responsible, I think that would be, beneficial. If there's a want for it, and we'll see if there's actually a need for it, it would probably take a term of council to figure out whether there's an actual need for it. But we'll see if that want is there. It's great that everybody put it as number 2. But of the 73 respondents, I don't know that a lot of them were on roads where it's actually even required. So that being said, I don't know if there's actually a want for it, but I think a term of council would actually allow the new council to see if there's a want and if it's useful.
I don't know if Carrie remembers or not, but I remember once on council, we did have a spot there where they were trying on some private roads to get, there was a grant, so much money they could get. I'm just trying to remember if they got it now, because that was
No.
like 12 years
They've
ago.
applied every year pretty much as long as I've been here. Except for last year, Beak Road Association always applies, and they have not been provided because it doesn't really meet the requirements of the community grant application.
Because the community grant is very specific.
Yeah.
Where there's not
I just knew there was
been
no kind of
road
one time
grant.
here for council.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before your time.
It's come up recently too as well.
Other municipalities have this.
Mhm.
What is
Some do.
right, some other municipalities do. And what would be the reason that they would offer that?
My understanding, so of the ones in Renfrew County that I know, is that they feel like they should provide their ratepayers an opportunity to get some funding for a road when they pay taxes. Realizing that, yes, the assessment on the property is normally lower when you're on a private road, because that's taken into consideration. But I think it's just kind of a mitigation strategy. Some of them are so that they can widen roads for emergency vehicles and things like that for old cottage roads that, you know, they've been advised that it's not wide enough, especially with the new trucks that are bigger and all those things. So I think it's more of a mitigation. The ones that I'm aware of all set a cap, and it's a relatively small cap, and that I think it's even like every 5 years you can apply. So they set those kind of, that it's not an every year thing. People are well aware that it's, you know, once every 5 years or whatever the case is. And then I think it's they've gotten that they know the roads, so they have the budget of basically just every 5 years, those roads are getting that funding, if they apply. So I think that's been there. Some of those locations have a lot of private roads though, compared to what we have.
I was just like, I know, for my personal side, like, I mean, like, it's about $1,200 a year is what, like, we have for the use for the road too as well. It's made a dramatic difference as far as being able to have emergency vehicles go. I remember when I first went down that road before we had that. I mean, I was driving down that road with my wife and I thought like she was taking me somewhere to kill me. Cause I was like, this is not a road. And now she might have been, I don't know. But but now that road is a lot safer and to get emergency vehicles down, it makes, it definitely has made a big difference. And I think, and your other point with the financial side of it too, as well as like all the cottages down that road, pay a hefty amount of taxation. And I think that question is like, we don't get garbage pickup down the cottage road. We don't get any gravel. We don't get any road maintenance. We don't get anything of this. So like, where's that? Then there's a little bit of a play that kind of maybe a little bit of kickback. In that sense, so. Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to see a separate policy from our community grant because the community grant is specific. But I definitely would like to have a little bit more information on it.
Yeah, so you're not approving it tonight. I'm asking you, do you want to see it come back with a draft policy? Take some of the other municipalities and what they have. And I think the council would probably agree that there should be a max, maybe even every so many years, those kind of things. Even for a draft policy, I'm really just looking on direction. Is this something that you want to defer and just put off until for like the next council? Or are you looking for us to develop a draft policy and come back?
Do you have time to do this?
You know,
It's better deferred, like, is it make
Yeah.
a big difference
It's
for
not
the
the
year,
time.
like?
Yeah, cause that's where I am right now.
Well, that's at the
You already
council
have-
side if it's a top priority or if your top priority is for us to gather data.
Well, yeah.
For us, the data thing is
Yeah.
the biggest project.
We're trying to do a whole bunch of other things with the roads, all this kind of stuff. If this slows you down in any way, then I would like to defer it.
So, but I think that we need to be very clear in communication that it's still on the
Oh,
docket.
yeah.
That the priority from council has been to collect data.
Yep.
To develop.
So that we can move forward on all of the other multiple things that we got out of that road.
Okay, so
Because
Still-
there was also on that wants list was, they want everything dropped to 60, but without the
we're
data.
gonna talk about that. Don't move forward. Okay, so still on the priorities list
yeah.
to be addressed in 2028. Does that make sense?
27.
2027.
Better, 27, yeah. Somebody's trying to slip
Jumping
that in
ahead 2
there.
years.
Sticking it on.
Okay, I was looking at 28. Next one is the draft road upgrade policy going to be considered. So while we're gathering data, we would prefer to collect all the data we might need at once and not go back. If that's going to be a consideration based on the examples that were provided to council and to the open house of Guthrie, the section of Ford, those kind of things that meet a certain criteria, that potentially could be upgraded. We want to make sure that we have that information to look at the long-term financial considerations of that when you're looking at a gravel plan, so that we're looking at a long-term financial consideration of, you know, what would it be without and what would it be with? If you're not interested in that, then we will not collect that data because we'll just focus on the gravel road optimization plan.
So that was, some of the comments that we got from that meeting. Rosedale Hall, they wanted to know the financial implications, the people who don't want upgraded roads, and then the people who want upgraded roads, so. I think it's something that we need to have. If that makes sense to you.
Agreed, and I think though it is important that for any of the roads that may be considered or fall into that potential upgrade, I think that's the biggest feedback that we've been receiving from folks is that not all of them want an upgraded service
Yeah.
because they don't want the additional traffic and they don't want the additional speed. So they want a say as the residents of that road as well. And I think that's, again, on the communication factor, no different than we're talking about Guthrie bringing everybody in, saying this is a draft drainage. It would be the same thing for a road. I'm just gonna keep using Guthrie just because that's right now. that if, in the event that we fix and address the drainage and the surface looks good through a full season, and we're considering this type of policy, that we would then have an open house for those residents to speak their mind on whether they would even want an upgraded surface. It's great for one or two people say, yeah, I want it, but if the other 30 say no for these reasons, I think that council needs to take that into consideration.
My only concern, because the biggest thing is like, say, we were talking about that upgrading, and there's a financial extra cost on top of doing that to us well that we would try to accommodate, but is that money not then better spent directing towards working on more soft spots and more things throughout the rest of the town? That's where I get concerned, like, I don't hear about like, you know, like this, like, so we get that road with an extra pavement piece on it, but it took away from being able to fix, to me, it's like, our focus should be, slowly fixing the gravel roads and the soft spots and the bad spots and all that kind of stuff, like overall.
Sorry, just to clarify that, so the financial consideration that was presented to council and at the open house was that we were taking the cost of adding granular calcium, grading, all those things from that one road
Yeah,
and putting it into the surface of that road.
just that
So
one.
you're not taking away from anybody else because we're changing basically where we're putting our money.
But it would,
That's
Cost
it.
them 25 years.
but it would cost more still to do that upgrade. It would be an extra.
Upfront,
like,
so
10 grand a
upfront you
year
are, well, that was just based off of like very high level
Yeah.
draft numbers, whereas if it's actually going to happen, we would have more solidified numbers. But I think that just to be clear, is that the plan is that you're changing where you're using those funds to better allocate them. Because some of these roads, if we're gonna start putting double calcium, double this, double that,
So when we get into that conversation where it's like now it becomes more beneficial, just, we're not actually putting more money on that road. It's going to be the same. It's like what I'm getting at is if we're investing more into this one to upgrade it when that money could have been like used into soft spots and everything else on something else. That's where it's like, if this is gonna be the same, where it's like, this makes sense now because the cost is neutral, then yeah, like, I like all for that upgrading going forth with it. But I don't wanna take us away from the fixing or the working on the other parts of it in order to do that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
so we would-
It's like that.
we wouldn't pull from somewhere else. That's where you'd be looking at a 0.25% tax increase. So that you're not pulling away, keeping in mind that everything's going up. And that whenever we go to tender, even for gravel, you're probably gonna see that cost go up too.
Yeah.
So. That's obviously, we need the data and we need to be able to, have a consultant put all the financials together to be able to have that discussion with council. But we just did a high level, and on the high level, we accounted for gravel being the same price over 20 years, which is never gonna happen. And calcium won't either because it's becoming more and more niche and, pricing is gonna go up on that too. If they don't even remove our ability to use calcium for environmental issues. So there's all of those considerations. So I guess I just need consensus on, are you looking at us to gather the data that might be included in the draft road upgrade policy?
I think we acted it.
Yes. Okay. Reducing gravel roads to 60 kilometers an hour. So council requested that speed data be provided prior to making a decision, no issues there. We've estimated it to be $20,000 plus staff time to erect and install these signs. I think, because for us to get all of the speed information for all of the gravel roads is going to take months. So does council want us to come back, basically provide a time frame to say, okay, you know, if you have included most of the heavy, higher traveled roads in the next 3 months, that you bring back that data for consideration in the 2027 budget? I know it's not you guys setting the budget, or do you want us to wait until all information's back? Because if you're on this council for 2027, we won't have all the information for that budget. Because our budget will be December.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Thanks.
So being honest, like I was all up for the putting the 10,000 to 20,000 just to attempt to appease, and would be an attempt, but would probably create other issues with other residents that they wanna drive the 80, they wanna drive the, whatever they feel like driving. I don't think this is anything we're gonna be doing this year based on that we're now gonna be waiting for all this information. Because I don't think it makes sense when in 3 months from now where we have some of our roads, but not all of our roads. I think if this is something that's gonna go forward, it'd probably be the next council to do next spring based on a fulsome count, a fulsome idea of what it's gonna look like and then go forward on that. And it's not taking this off, it's saying, hey, this is still something that we are looking at and are willing to do it where required with the information that we need. But I think that this is more of a next year item, if we're not starting it now.
Because I think we felt that when we do the traffic or the speed counts, a lot of them, it's a perception as to how fast people were going compared to what they really were. And so it's at the time frame that we want it, but I don't think it's part of this that we need to do that. Because I don't think moving them to 60 is going to solve a problem.
So Chair through you, yeah, so again, the confirmation of the original discussion in April, council seemed to want us to move forward with this, and then the last one was kind of. That's fine, if you wanna wait until all of the speed data is collected, it would be 2027, 2028 probably, just because the 27 budget will be done. Obviously, the council at the time can still approve it and pull from reserves or do whatever they choose. But we just need to know that it's still on the list of items, but deferred until all of the speeding data is collected.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, for me, I wanna reduce everything to 60 kilometers an hour. But I want all of the data so that I can tell people that, yes, actually people are driving 90 kilometers an hour down your road. Or I wanna be able to tell people, we're not reducing to 60, because everybody actually does 60. So as much as I want to seriously look at reducing the speeds, I want the data so that I can explain what I'm doing, so I'm okay with that.
And Chair, that'll be good, because it'll give council time to drive their own vehicles 80 kilometers an hour down all the gravel roads to make sure that they feel comfortable driving them at that speed.
I'll just say, I want the data too as well, because I think the biggest thing is to see what the actual speeds and things, it's a humongous point there, because I often wonder too as well, like, I mean, we've been talking about speed and everything else, and like, there's been so many different things that are done, like, how do you slow down traffic, how do you deal with it? And I often wonder too as well, as like reducing a speed limit and putting up 60 kilometers an hour, is that actually gonna do it? I've often wondered, like, is there other signage that works better? Like, you know, like big signs saying, share the road. If you see someone walking, slow down for them. There's a bunch of houses coming up. Please don't dust them out. Like, I mean, like to me, 60 kilometer hour speed signs don't necessarily fix the problem, but witty signs or other ideas or other things that might be more sort of innovative. I've battled with this for like many years, and we've done like different, you know, going to different conferences and asking traffic people. It's like, but how do you truly get people to slow down? You know, you have the kid out there that's like pretending to play a ball. You have all of those different things. I would rather be a signage budget, especially if the data comes back and shows that we don't have a crazy road issues. It's like looking at different innovative ways of saying, like, to slow down. The biggest thing is, like, if someone's driving down the road, like, and I'll use even a paved road for that matter, and they're going 80, 85 kilometers an hour. We don't have a lot of shoulder width there too as well. But if I'm out there, or my kid's out there walking their dog, or someone's out there with a baby stroller, and you'd want to continue to go 85 or 90 kilometers an hour right by them this far away, you're a lunatic. And like, it doesn't make any sense for you to do that. It's like, are you aware? And maybe, I don't know if a big sign will do that. If you see a baby stroller on the road, you slow down and you pay attention. And I mean, that would reduce a lot of it too as well, where you're gonna see that, those situations. I'd love to see the data and then have a discussion about saying, okay, people are not necessarily doing what we do with the outliners. Is there something innovative we can have a conversation? Because I do not think putting, and that was my comment too as well about, I think that was a misconstrued, but the first Tetlock Kelly Jordan Road, one is 50, they're paved roads. It's nothing to do with it, but I'm curious what the data behind that one is posted 50, one is unposted 80. What is the comparable speed limit data information on that? If they're literally the same, then that posted 50 just proved that it doesn't mean look at anything. I think that's kind of where I was going with that anyway, so that's my sort of thoughts on that piece, so.
Going after what, Mr. Carroll, is going for,
I feel better.
you right? Well, yeah, anyways, I live on Ford and the 50 zones, it's good for people that want to follow signs and see it and slow down, tap the brakes. But it doesn't, for ones that want to speed, it doesn't do anything. So it's great to say that we're trying to reduce the speed by putting those signs. But no different than anything else. The ones that see the flashing sign that says, hey, you're going too fast, they slow down. The other ones that don't care, because they know they're not gonna get a ticket, go faster so they can see how fast they can get up to. So it's you know, you're gonna have both sides of that coin. But you know, if the data does say, hey, people are driving 90, 100 and reducing that speed is gonna at least show that we're trying. I'm definitely willing to go that way with supported data.
Yeah, just one last thing. So data's the key in this, but it's also, we need to look at, and I like Jeff's idea, or Mr. Carroll.
I better not be a friend.
Yeah, right. Talk about your dad now. It's one of those things where, can we be creative? But I wanna be able to be creative because the data shows that everybody is doing this speed and that kind of stuff. So I just want the data so that we can actually make some informed decisions.
Agreed.
Yep. And a big component to that is distracted driving these days. So, okay, so the next one is, so I have defer until further data, of speeding
Yeah.
information. 2027 gravel tender, so I think this one was one of the items that was fairly clear. We had the ability to extend the current tender by an additional year for 2027. Council is choosing not to, and to tender for 2027 with provisional of Superior Granulars to Morva Granite. Does council want to include in this though subsequent years as per the previous tender, like that we're asking for 3 years of pricing?
Worked good before.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Okay, just because we're not extending, that's why I didn't know if you just wanted to do year by year now, or whatever the case was.
But isn't that your best practice is to go out?
Our normal practice has been to extend until the full end of the tender. That's fine though, because we're asking for provisional items, so it'd be different. And I just want to note that there has been additional testing and quality control this year, like substantially more. So that's fine, and I think the contractor's employees have indicated that the contractor wouldn't want to extend in 2027 and may not provide pricing anyways, so.
We've done testing? Is there something we can talk about now, or is that a report?
We'll bring something back if there's issues, yeah.
Thank you.
So the next one is the gravel road committee terms of reference. This one, honestly, I didn't have any consensus on what you were looking for here. So, are you looking for a gravel road committee only or all roads? Because majority of the responses, well, it was split really on what it should be. And again, there was only 73 responses. It was the #1 strategy proposed based on the 73 responses. 68% of the responses had indicated that they want to see some kind of qualification from the people sitting on that committee. #1 was in good standing with the township, so you don't owe us taxes, you pay, drainage experience, private road construction experience, heavy equipment experience, and an engineer were the top 5. How many members would council want to see on this committee? Majority of people responded they had no interest in sitting on the committee, with only 11% showing interest. So how many public, how many staff, and what position, and council, how many? How often would the committee meet? Next slide, Grace. What does council see the committee's objective being? So I think that whenever you're considering the terms of reference and what this looks like, council should also look at the other options that there's a lot of people that well, not a lot, but I'm gonna say there's some people that we've heard from who don't have interest of sitting on the committee, but still want to have an input and provide, and honestly, like the open house, and feel like that should be the direction, that we're providing every ratepayer an opportunity, that we're not picking 4 people from the community to make a decision for everyone. That's what council was chosen and elected to do. So I think that we just need direction on what you want in the terms of reference. And I think the biggest discussion that you want to start with is that if you're doing a road committee, what is the objective of this road committee going to be? Because then that will help set the terms of reference. But what is their objective going to be? Go ahead, Trevor.
First, they're an advisory committee. They're not making any decisions on what we're going to do going forward. They can put forward ideas and things like that, but we're elected for a reason. And it falls to us. Anything that's financial, anything that we're gonna do, that's us. This committee is there to advise, bring forward ideas, and actually oversee that we're actually doing what we said, because that was part of what they just wanted some insight into how we operate and stuff like that. So I don't, objective wise, I see it as it's supposed to be an advisory committee on how we would operate and what are best practices. It's not a committee that tells us what to do. That's not how this works.
Going, kind of after what Trevor's saying, I really enjoyed the open house. I think we got a lot of information out of that, and it gives the community as a whole an opportunity to voice and get everything, issues, concerns, ideas, all out in an open setting, an open forum, without a huge cost of staff hours. And it gives everybody an opportunity to be, for lack of a better word, an open house road committee, giving their ideas that we are able to, as council and staff, implement, which is actually where all these ideas have stemmed from. And I think it would be more effective and have a better. Every road has an opportunity to come out, every individual, anybody who has an issue with it. When you are able to post it publicly, everyone can say their concerns on every road, where if you're picking 4 individuals, 5 individuals, you have 5 individuals who are gonna have their own very specific biases on their specific roads that they travel, or they don't travel, where at least if you do a road committee once a year, twice a year, it's more focused, and everybody's able to say, hey, here's the issues that we're seeing on Guthrie Road, here's the issues we're seeing on Ford Road, Brown Road, Carroll Road. We spent about 2 hours, I think the road committee meeting was about 2 hours long, and we were able to hear from so many different roads on so many different issues, and it really made all of this actually come to a head. And I think it would be more beneficial than a road committee where it's gonna be a few people on very specific items, but that's my opinion. And I just think there was just so much benefit from that open house, where I think you would get more out of it than a very specific road committee, in my opinion.
I guess my thing is like, are you going to be buying it? There's people that express interest, but now we're putting those conditions too as well, as far as like an understanding of road stuff too as well. Are you gonna get pick a number, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that are gonna actually do it, put their name in, show up on a quarterly basis, and do that? I mean, we have other committees already that we already have a hard time filling, as it is. So like, you know, if we put it out there, and what happens if 2 people come back and say, yeah, I will do this, I'm committing to it. So that means like the base of the committee doesn't happen? Because if we pick, like, what's our arbitrary number that you would wanna have? And like, you wanna pick up from like I think your point, maybe corners of the township, because if like you get 4 people and they're all from the same road, is that a roads committee for the township? Like it's it's tricky. So I don't know where we should will it work? And I mean, we've done it in the past and it dissolved for a reason. Because one of those things too as well, I think one of the reasons why we've had success from the open house is that there was a lot of information given back, showing what's going on, explaining of what we've been doing, also discussing it too as well. And once again, the residents see, okay, like they're on it, they are paying attention, they know what's going on, the people that listen. They know what's going on, and they understand the financial restraints we're having, so I think it's like, where are we going with this, and is it something that's going to, like, if people really want it, I mean, yeah, but is this really going to be something that's worth putting the time and effort into? And are we gonna get the people, like, do we put an expression of interest out there saying, if you have this, then we need your name now, before we even do a terms of reference? Like, to say, like, to see if we actually get 5 people that say, I have private road, I have road maintenance abilities, I have this, and I'm willing to put my name in, you know what, we have 5 people and you're all from around the township, then maybe we have the staff put the work into, I'm just spitballing ideas. Of doing something like that, cause I like your idea of getting everybody together. Like, if you wanna have and like, this one was really good, when we did it during the roads need study, like, come to the roads need study, we had 8 people show up. You know what I mean? So like, it's this one, there was a little bit more public involvement, so they wanted to have that. So like, what happens if we have a meeting next year with our roads again? Will it be I would love to see, like, I mean, we'd love to put a meeting together of 100 people come out, let's have this conversation. But if it's 8 people again, where do we go from there? Anyway, that's sort of I don't know where the right.
The open conversation, I think, was wonderful, and where they were able to ask staff questions and get answers, and we were able to get insights on their ideas and what the concerns they have, and they were able to understand the thought process of what staff is doing and how they're moving forward, and the steps that we are going forward. I just think that the community would get a lot more out of that type of forum than a specific roads committee where you have 4 or 5 individuals who it's not gonna be as open. It's not going to hit everybody's questions as easy. It's not gonna get everybody the answers they're looking for. I think it was great. I think we got a lot out of it. As council, I got a lot out of it. I think the community as a whole got a lot out of it and got a lot of answers to their questions that they didn't expect they were gonna get.
So for myself, I would like to do both. I do like the open house way of doing things. It's excellent. We got 100 people because they were all angry. That's why we got 100 people. Normally we get 8 people, just like Mr. Fair said. But it's one of those things where I would still like to continue it back because it was an excellent vehicle to gather information and actually get rid of misinformation. I would like to find out, is there really an appetite within our community for a roads committee? Gravel road committee. If we put it out there, it's okay, here's what we're looking for, here's our requirements, and we get 3 people, or let's say we get 10 people, we're all down Birchfield Road. You don't need a gravel roads committee, you need a Birchfield Road committee. That's a different animal. But I'd like to find out, is it really something that people want to do? Because I've heard from people now that they see all this great work being done. Well, you know what? Maybe we don't need this committee, but I'd still like to find out because a lot of people were asking about it. So is there an appetite from our ratepayers for something like that? And if there is, okay, we'll move on. But if there isn't, well, we'll pivot and say, okay, we'll have more open houses. Yes, but I want to see, is there really an interest? Because there was a lot of talk about that. And I'd like to see, are people actually going to show up? Do they really want to do it? And maybe we have 2 things going on. And we might find out that Tom was saying the committee he was on years ago just died. Well, then let's find out. Maybe it's the same thing again. I don't know, but I want to find out because it was a lot of angry people. This is one of the things that they wanted to talk about. And it's also why we had so many people show up at Rosefield that day, because they were pissed off. So anyway, my thoughts.
So if you wanna find out if people still have an interest, are you looking for a survey to be put out on social media like we did the last time?
Well, I wouldn't do a survey. It would be a call for.
Submit your resume.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're.
That's what I'm saying. We're looking into building or putting together roads committee, expression of interest. And if we get no one, then we'll tell everybody, okay, no one put their name in.
So in order to put that out, we would need to know what the objective of the committee is going to be.
Yeah.
Because just to say we're gonna have one and have people apply without saying, because this is the purpose that you're going to be on.
How much time is gonna be committed? What
Yeah,
is
but that's the point of what
requirements?
we're gonna bring back. It's, okay, we'll talk about that. You're not gonna cover what the objectives that are right now, are we?
Well, so Chair through you, if we're gonna put out an expression of interest for people to apply, that is the one thing in the responses back. They're like, we need more information to even know if we'd want to be interested. So for us to put out an expression of interest, we need to be able to advise people what the qualifications are that we're looking for, how often you meet, who's on this committee, and what your objective is. Cause I think that some people in the community want to be able to direct staff, that they want that to be part of the
Yeah, but
committee.
that's never,
direction.
ever going to happen.
That's right,
Ever.
so that's council's direction, but that's why we need to know what that objective is though, so if it's an advisory on operations and best practices. So they're providing advice to us then on what our operations and best practices should be, like, we need clarification on what that objective is going to be for those committee members.
Yeah, you will not get that out of this meeting. That's a back and forth that's gonna go on for hours.
So we're deferring this then until when? Again, we need directional council of what is our priority right now, is it collecting data, or is it developing a terms of reference that
Collecting data.
five people around the table are going to agree
I
on?
think we talked about this at the last meeting and said that this probably is not going to end up happening this year because of the amount of work it's gonna take to create the terms of reference and everything else, and it's gonna take away from the work going forward. It's something that we can look into and start to come up with the ideas. But to stop all the work going forward to create terms of reference for something that may or may not happen. I don't see the benefit at this moment in time.
But Chair through you, but we need though, cause if the road committee is gonna be included on the gravel road plan, the road committee has to happen first before the data, so. That's why we're asking for this clarification, because they can't be included on something when they don't exist. So that's why we need to know, what the direction is. If you want us to get the data and develop a gravel road plan to have in draft form and then develop a terms of reference for this to exist and review, to do an open house, that they're providing feedback that we provide to the public saying this is what your road committee has provided as feedback to our draft, to get a clear indication from them. Like, I just need to know how involved, and that's what I'm saying, what is the objective going to be of this committee? Because it may need to happen first.
So if we came out with an idea of saying, okay, we're gonna meet every 3 months. Could we come up with a very loose base saying, we're gonna meet every 3 months, so quarterly? We want 5 from the community, 2 council members and 1 staff. But we wanna see if we need applications based on having some sort of roads based knowledge. And see what applications come forward. I'm just trying to understand I think council's on the point where we wanna see if we're wasting time and just spinning wheels, that we're not gonna have the applicants that are there for it.
So Chair through you, so I think that, what we need to know is that, are you looking at, so we've kind of said this evening, are you looking at every tax bill getting a scoring matrix so every ratepayer has an opportunity to provide that back to us? Or are you looking at having a term of reference for road committee that they're gonna be the ones that review the draft plan, provide feedback for the open house, so the community, these are the people from the community that are providing feedback. And then from there, the committee would develop or not develop based on feedback from the open house. If you're getting feedback from the open house going, none of these things that these people said are what we want. I think it's more of an evolving, if you're looking at having a committee, it's more of evolving. I think you're starting small and evolving, or you're gonna start small and realize that it's not what the people want and it would distinguish, that's more what we're saying, is that if you want them to have that input on the draft plan and maybe be ones that are doing a scoring matrix, the same as council, driving their own vehicles at a certain speed, doing whatever the case is, then that needs to be developed now. We need expressions of interest now so that they can do those things. Or if you're not going to have them do that, we're gonna develop the road plan first as a draft, do an open house, and then do a committee. That's fine too, but I need to know what direction you're going.
But Jim had his hand up, so I'll let Jeff go first.
I like the idea of having another open house and then going like down the road here, have the open house and then going from there. Our council thing's just a bit over here. I'm not saying I don't agree with the roads committee, but I don't think it's something we have to rush into and not do it right. With so much going on with yous, with the election and everything else going on. That's my opinion is maybe have another one in the fall here and talk to the people again. And we're not saying we're not gonna have a roads committee, but at least, you know, have a meeting with them and that go from there and take less time for everything.
Yeah, so what I would prefer is we build a base with all of our data.
Yeah.
Then we move forward. Let's have an open house. I'm good with that. We have in the back of our minds, we may have a gravel roads committee or a roads committee. But we'll decide that once we have the data, we have an open house and we'll say to them again, do you want a gravel road committee? Here's what it is. But, and then move on and make your decision from there. I'm not saying that we have to have the gravel roads committee right now. I'm not saying that we have to have an expression of interest right now. What I'm saying is I want to see all of the data. And if we can do it in concert with an open house, that sounds great too. But I want to be able to still say, okay, we're looking at having a roads committee. And maybe we don't need it at the end. Maybe everybody's so happy that at the open house, they say it's doing great work and we're off to the races. But I still want it in the back of our minds that this is something that we're moving towards. And we might find out through all the data that it's not required. But it's one of those things where a lot of people asked about this. So it shouldn't just disappear or get deferred. But you have to have a process on how you get to that decision. That's what I'm saying.
So we're not deferring it?
It's semantics right now. We're not deferring something. You just have a process that we're gonna go through. And right now, it's not on our list of things that we're gonna do right at this moment. So it's not deferring and it's not saying, yes, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna collect the data. If we have an open house, that's great. And then we'll make a decision on this later. There's no timeline that we have to have a roads committee. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so just so that we have clarification, because I know that the folks who wanted the committee wanted input into the gravel road plan. So we're collecting our data, we're developing a draft plan, doing an open house, then potentially looking at a road committee.
I think that makes,
That's-
I think that's a good professional step and see where, and see where we go. And like, I mean, obviously those individuals that wanna have input. Their input is, I mean, they get their input anyways. I mean, they are reaching out to our people too as well and sort of giving their input, but I mean, I think input has seen more important for just important overall. So I think there's stuff that they got played out again.
So I think the people that are looking for the committee are going to hear or read that we're moving forward in developing long-term policies. We are prioritizing our road projects because we are saying that we're recognizing that the gravel roads may need extra money by having casual employees, the same as we do during our winter maintenance. We are also ensuring that the budget is going to need extra money because that's going to come through as we have the casual people coming on board. It's going to show, so we've got that. And then if it says reviewing maintenance techniques, well, if our guys are always on training, I mean, they go for the Good Roads or the AORS Association training, like they are sent from a recognized place for the training, for the maintenance of our roads. And we have the data to show that we do that. So I think that the people that we're looking for committee, if they see what we're doing, when we get to having this plan that is going to be brought forward, when we discuss it at the open house, if they have additional feedback, I think at that point, they'll be able to say, you know what, you're moving forward and the committee may not be needed, or they may be saying, no, we still need it. But I think the biggest thing was they wanted the committee because of the fact that they didn't want to get forgotten in all the years that they kept saying, well, you know, it's a concern. And it was like, but we've heard it loud and clear. We are taking a very forward approach with everything that we're doing. And so we haven't forgotten that there's a committee, but we are directing staff to do this. And then at an open house, there could be feedback and they can go from there if it's still needed. So it's, I would use the term, it is still a deferral because we're not saying we need it as of tonight, but it's not being forgotten because it is in the plan that we have directed to give to staff to say we're gonna have, they're going to collect all the data, they're going to put the plan together, we're gonna have an open house, and that's when we'll find out whether this committee still is needed or not. That's correct? That's what we're deciding?
I think by doing it this way, we're making it so we can have forward progression without having something stop us being able to do stuff right now. Because we're able to get the wheels moving. Otherwise, we're kind of waiting till this committee is created. And then nothing's gonna happen until after that committee is created. At least this way, we're pushing forward. We're getting ideas on the ground, we're getting things going. And then when we have that meeting, the open house, we can go from there. And if that still looks like that's the idea, that we wanna have a roads committee, by the way, everyone will be able to have an opportunity to be voiced and heard, then we can go from there. At least we're not right now tying up staff's time, building up an idea, trying to find who's gonna be on that so that we can move forward.
So that's what you were saying though, Trevor, right? Like we're moving forward with staff doing what they're doing the collection of the data, and then we're going to have that open house, and that's when the roads committee will have a discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna have a process.
Yeah.
So I won't argue the semantics of what different.
Right. No, but-
means,
Okay,
but that's all I just want. I want to know
Yeah.
exactly what the date is.
yeah,
And I like the open house idea. That sounds great. And then you make a decision on, do we go ahead with this?
Yeah.
Like, you can't make a decision until you know what all the data is.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%. They brought it all forward with the road committee, all this kind of stuff, because they thought they weren't being heard, they thought work wasn't being done. Well, then they find out that staff and Ed and Ally have been doing a ton of stuff all the time. Well, maybe they don't need it, and you see them wavering a bit on that kind of stuff. So that's fine. So let's get the data so that we can have an actual conversation with them.
so you're good, Alan?
Yep, I changed the recommendation though for.
Yeah.
Moving forward. So I'll read the recommendation, that I have, just, and let me know if you guys want to change it. So council direct public works staff to collect the data as presented this date for future use of creating a gravel maintenance plan. The council direct public works staff to develop a scoring matrix for the roads and bring back to council at the June 16th, 2026 meeting for discussion. The council provide public works staff with direction on the gaps they wish to see filled as noted below. So additional funds in the public works wages for casual employees and contracted positions. The council approve increasing the public works wage budget line to accommodate a combination of, I took out additional overtime, so just additional casual operator hours, hiring of a seasonal operator and or contractor, and or manager of public works being approved for additional overtime beyond the 2 weeks if required, because us as managers are slotted at 2 weeks, every hour after that is volunteer. The council direct public works staff to bring forward a private gravel road grant funding policy in 2027. The council direct the public works staff to collect data inclusive of what is required for the draft gravel road upgrade policy. The council direct the public works staff to not develop a terms of reference for a gravel road committee until a draft gravel road plan is developed and an open house held. The council direct public works staff to include, sorry, I didn't get direction on this one, to include or not include in the August final tax billing a scoring matrix for an opportunity for each ratepayer to score their road.
What's the purpose of it? My worry about that is like everybody's gonna have such a vast different feeling of.
I think it's because the biggest thing we heard and what we got from the open house is that people didn't feel like they were being heard. So you're giving them the opportunity to be heard.
Used to be heard in the same, like, rate.
They don't have to submit it back, but you're giving them that opportunity.
Would it be a very scripted sort of like, this is how it's rated when you go and do your rating as a resident?
Yeah, so it's gonna be the same matrix that is presented on June 16th.
Okay,
So you can wait until June 16th and we can just take this out. We can make that
that's,
decision
yeah,
then.
like, yeah, that's what I like, okay.
Okay. And further, the council direct the public works manager to provide quarterly updates on the progress in their quarterly report.
Yeah, can I ask one question? So the draft gravel road upgrade policy, like, is that part of that too, as well as like, right now we have like, the 4-year cycle of like, everybody gets the same. Would that be part of that too, as well as maybe changing that too as well, or is that?
It'll be part of the gravel road optimization plan is what we're calling our gravel road plan. So that one is part of if a road would qualify to get an upgraded surface, not. So the gravel road plan, the optimization strategies that we're talking about, that will be where it lays out what roads are getting gravel on what year and how that might change.
And
There's certain roads.
That might change by the,
Correct.
because then once again, we have the data that tells us all that stuff too as well.
That is a separate like potential upgrade to a hard surface.
Yeah, that's all that one is, but we're still talking about doing like as far as the other one too as well, and then how that all.
That one's going to be everything we just talked about and the data, that's included in
We're
that.
doing that with that too as well. Perfect. Okay, so for clarification, I wanted to understand that.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Call the vote, all in favor? And that's carried.
I just want to say real quick, I think it's a really good, really great discussion. Thank you, Ally. Thank you, Ed, for all of that hard work. I know that's a lot. I think, council's brains all hurt too as well, which is a good thing. But I really appreciate, all of the thoughtfulness behind that and that making sure that we cleared up this too as well. Really, really, really important for us, for everybody. I think everybody did great. Thank you.
On for our reports of committees, so moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Bass, that council approves the minutes of the Montague Recreation Culture Committee MRCC meeting dated April 27th. As presented this date, all in favor? And that's carried. Next is the Northville Public Library, so moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council accept the minutes of the Marrickville Public Library Board meeting of May 5th, 2026 as information. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Bass, seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council accept the minutes of the Smith Falls Public Library Board meeting of May 26th, 2026 as information. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, second by Councillor Crabtree, that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting dated May 19th, 2026, and the recommendations contained within. All in favor? That's carried. We've got petitions, bylaw, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Bass, that bylaw 4219/2026, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement with 119-97459 Canada Inc. for 1222 Matheson Drive, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed the second day of June 2026. All in favor? That's carried. Action items. Tailgate.
My computer died.
Oh,
My battery died on my laptop. Well, good, I can read up there. I said put my glasses on. So we did receive some correspondence from, thank you for sharing, from the Ministry of the Attorney General regarding implementing policies for tailgating permits. So the recommendation is essentially that staff are going to bring a report back with what those options and processes would look like.
Sounds good.
So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council receives the correspondence from the Ministry of Attorney General regarding tailgate event permits as information, and that council directs staff to prepare a report outlining available options and their processes for council's consideration. All in favor? That's carried. The next one is Rideau Valley Conservation Authority 60th Anniversary Community Day, June 13th.
So RVCA every year hosts an information day. A lot of times planning staff and council members are invited so they can take part in a bunch of different experiences. It's often held at one of their conservation authorities, but this year I believe it's at their main office. And it's on a weekend, it's on a Saturday instead of during the week. So I've been every year and it's a lot of fun, even when you don't like snakes in the great outdoors, but it's still good. So what I'm looking for here is if anyone on council is interested in attending, I can RSVP on your behalf, to our BCA. June 13th, so it is a Saturday and it is a full day, but you get food, you get snacks and food and lots of, interesting opportunities to experience nature. If there's anyone that's interested in going.
Last one they're ever gonna have.
Yeah.
Group, yeah.
I took part in
No,
an info
they-
session today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anybody that's interested in attending on that date? I can go for a bit. I have to leave the afternoon. I have company arriving, but I will attend for the morning anyway.
Yeah, I might try to pop out with my kids too.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where it's
Anyone else that might be interested in going, no?
Let's see, snakes now.
Yes, these next. So for the purpose of RSVPing, would you like me to let them know that you and your children?
yeah,
Okay.
please, yeah.
Only if you partake in all of the activities.
I'll send my kids to the snakes, that's fine.
I don't know if there were
It
snakes
says-
this time, but I think there was like
I would
birds
say that's.
and probably bats.
I was just gonna say, I said bat. I saw the word bats.
Yeah, bats are fine.
You're leaving before the bats. Okay,
So moved by Councillor Bass, second by Councillor Johnson, that council direct staff to advise RBCA that the following members of council will attend RBCA's 60th anniversary community day on Saturday, June 13th, 2026. Reeve Karen Jennings and Deputy Reeve Carroll. All in favor? That's carried. And then we had information items. There's no real anything brought forward, but definitely
That's on it, so.
the Silver Chain Challenge. So a reminder that Lanark County faces off against Renfrew County. So it's a competition for the month of June where you track your kilometers. Participants are encouraged to walk, run, or cycle as often as they can throughout the month of June. And you log your kilometers traveled and see them tracked in real time to show who is leading the friendly competition. So, do we register? We must register.
Yeah, there's the,
Further down.
yeah, there's the hashtag, and there's a QR code that's been created too as well by the county too as well,
It's
that's
not in our. media.
just not in the media release.
So the county's website would have that then?
County website was on it.
And
It would be nice to share it, see if we
Yeah.
could even share it with the school too as well, to see if the
Yeah.
school would share it and the
Kids.
schools that they do, they can walk on the trail or something like that.
Yeah.
And there might be some classes that might be interested in, if that's possible, just to share that over with them. They might jump on that too as well and submit things to as well. So.
Next is the thank you for the easels that the township received for staff loaning out the easels. Next to then,
Is that something that, is that now, and then, just talking about
will it be brought forward for anything further?
for donation, or is that something that we?
It's not my recommendation that we donate the easels to them. We purchased those easels through our senior grant. That's why we have them. We haven't had an opportunity to utilize them yet. Again, staff have been pulled in other directions. But I think it's nice that we can assist our neighbors in using them and what the purpose of them was for. But at this time, I wouldn't recommend that we donate them, but I think we can keep that on file and know that if we don't use them in the next year or two, then maybe it's something we could look at.
Great,
Yeah.
great job too as well, like helping our neighbors out. I think that's
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
one of those things, that's why Montague is so friendly.
Yeah, and then just to touch on the Montague Public School media release with reference to the Montague Public School partners with Township to create the story trail. And that's great that the grades 2-3 class at Montague School did the work in creating the boards, information for the boards, and that is now installed out on our trail, that many people are out walking. So just a huge shout out to the students and staff at Moncton Public School for assisting, and to our staff for getting the boards up and installed. So our 22 acres is booming along. Is there anything else in information that anybody wanted to touch on? Yeah, so it's not that we needed action items, but we wanted to give shout outs. So. Okay. Put the agenda over here. So. Before we recess, is there any questions of our audience? Ah,
On the business the grant there for the business for keeping the businesses in the communities. Like they got a grant for that. Now you're talking about maybe you might have to hire extra people to do your end. Could they not get money out of that grant? There's no money left in the grant for those extra people you might have to hire?
The grant was partially covering, to bring Tim on to start that process.
Okay, so there was no grant to
No, I didn't.
cover the other additional costs.
No, I think the grant was $35,000, which like that only partially covers like Tim's, contract.
Okay. And the other question was, for your collecting your data, your 7 days on the roads, are you gonna log in there if that was a 4-day work week or a 5-day work week? Or are you gonna do it all on 5-day work weeks? Because traffic does differ greatly. So like, I don't know, if you only go to 5-day work weeks, that means it's almost 1 week every month you miss because there's only 4 work days in that week.
Well, it's also gonna change to, depending on, as of, January 1st, government go back to work. So currently they're only working 3 days, they're gonna be going 4. So like if there's government workers on those roads, that's also gonna change that too. So like I think we're gonna have to deal with some minor variables.
When you're doing the data, if you take on a certain road and saying, okay, we did it on this week, there was 4 work days, or this week, or there was a strike by some big company that a lot of people aren't working this week. You know, as long as you're taking the data and you're taking that little notes in there, so years down the road, you look at it and say, oh, maybe we should recheck that data.
And I think continual data is important too as well, because you do it now, but then you do it again 8 months from now, and then 6 months after that, and there's a continual data, so then you sort of see if there's any blips or if there was like, and then, because that is not always, one snapshot is not always the best for data. You get a couple different rollovers that kind of will then indicate a little bit more of.
Yeah, but even on your rollovers, if you happen to hit the same road on a 4-day work week,
It could, yeah.
2 or 3 times, that's where you data that next time you make sure it was a 5-day work week. Just an idea.
just curiosity though, when you say 4-day work week.
Well, holidays,
Canada Day happens to be on Wednesday.
certified holidays.
Okay.
But like there's other things that are gonna be, again, blips on that, like an accident on the road diverts, all traffic down Ford Road.
Yeah.
Ford Road all of a sudden has an exponential increase. So I think we can try to make some notes, but I think like Jeff, it's gonna be that continuous data. So then you'll have 3 weeks that'll be similar, but then that 1 week will be an oddity.
I think Ally was gonna say something, or no? Sorry. There we go.
Like that.
Yep. Okay. Any questions online? No. Okay. So moved by Deputy Mayor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council recess the council meeting at 8:14 PM. All in favor? Carried.
We should have asked for more.
Great.
Yeah. 30 seconds.
Sorry, Barros.
Now, everyone, welcome to the whole in-person live stream electronically Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. Welcome now with the land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the township of Montague acknowledge the sacred land of which the township of Montague is now located. And this meeting is being held as the ancestral unceded territory of the Algonquin and Ashabi Nation. Great. And then we'll have the adoption of the agenda. Anyone have any admissions? Want to add anything to the agenda? Excellent. Moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Reeve Jennings, that the committee of the whole agenda for June 2nd, 2026 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of interest can be made now or throughout the meeting? Delegations? We have none. Report to municipal officers, we have one. Clerk Planning Manager Cote and Municipal Manager, Deputy Treasurer Clerk Elsa Frederick and proposed severance of Dutton property on Bennett, follow up reports.
Thank you, Chair. So at the request of council, staff have prepared a follow-up report related to the proposed development on Bennett Road, specifically related to the timelines and costs associated with road widening and construction of the turnaround. As noted in the report, road widenings are a very common component of consent applications. Staff want to ensure that we acquire lands to facilitate road widenings or realignments if and when projects are financially feasible and appropriate and directed by council. It should be noted there's always the potential that road widening may not occur for many years or ever. But acquiring these lands at these opportune times, where there's agreement between the landowner and the municipality, allows public works staff to undertake other operations on these lands, including drainage and ditching, until road widening is achieved. The likelihood of staff recommending the road widening on Bennett Road at this time is very low. There are currently only 3 residences on this road, 4 with the proposed severance. Now, with respect to the proposed turnaround, this would eliminate the need to utilize the driveway at 262 Bennett Road. And it's proposed to be completed at the time the severance is completed. The turnaround construction would be completed by staff using materials on hand, funded by the gravel maintenance budget line. The anticipated financial implications for the turnaround are between $5,000 and $10,000, and it is estimated that the project would take approximately 1 day to be completed, again by staff. I'm not sure if Ally wants to add anything to that, or council has any questions.
No, I was gonna say, like, I mean, really, I think part of that discussion was like, what does the turnaround look like? And it's gonna cost 5-10 grand. If we have the stuff and it's gonna be accommodated, it's actually pretty inexpensive to do it. It's not a big cost. Sounds good. I mean, the road winding, yeah, like, I mean, we don't need to do it, we're not gonna do it. But the turnaround was more like, what does that look like? And you can do that for relatively inexpensive as far as,
Yeah.
and that's really what it is.
And I mean, and Chair, through you, currently, we're in a fortunate position that the owner at 262 Bennett Road allows us to use their driveway for that purpose, but at any point, they could block it or tell us no, and then we'd have to come up with some other. No,
Chair, through you, so we've already made the decisions to start changing that, so we don't want to use people's driveways as turnarounds. So this is really, we have to do this, we've started that process and we're just continuing on with this. We have the budget in our gravel line, and or some stuff on site here. So, again, it's just the time, for Public Works to go and do it. Once the surveying is completed.
Any other, go ahead, Tim.
I think it's great that we're just again being transparent. We're telling repairs, this is what the cost is, and then just being open, and I think that's awesome. Great job by staff, and this is another wonderful thing to get rid of the fact that we have to turn around somebody else's driveway, and it's gonna be done. Perfect.
Anything else? No, okay. Moved by Deputy Carroll, seconded by Councilor Crabtree, that council receive staff report regarding proposed financial implications and the timeline associated with potential road widening and turnaround construction on Pennant Road as information. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, no reports of committees, no petitions, no motions, notice of motion. No unfinished business, is there any other business? Seeing none. Moved by Reeve Benny, oh, sorry, do we have any questions in the crowd? No, any questions online?
Not on.
It was a big report, are you sure?
Moved by Reeve Jennings, second by Councilor Bass, that the committee of the whole meeting for June 2nd, 2026 now be adjourned at 8:23. All in favor? Approved. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. So welcome back. So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Abbas that council resume the council meeting at 8:25 PM. All in favor? Not carried. So now moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll that council moves into closed session at 8:25 PM. As per section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 SOC 25, in order to address two items. One, roll number 0901 000 025 07603, request for payment plan for outstanding taxes. Two, Merrickville and Smith Falls Library negotiations. More specifically, 2392B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. 2392K, position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. That municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Blakman, and clerk planning manager, Christian Cote, reading in the room. All in favor? That's carried.